Welcome back to another permission-related tutorial. This time we're going to go over locomotion modules and restricting them based on tags. This is a great setup for requiring users to take action before they gain certain locomotion permissions, or really securing your locomotion down so that you know exactly who's got some. I'll explain as we go, but I wanted to talk about the setup which I have created in this world. You'll see that I'm in a let me go to third person here, that I'm in a room here, and there's not much in this room. And that's because this is like a holding pen. Inside this room, let me hop over to smooth POV, I can basically just walk around, I can bump into the walls. I can't leave the walls. And I can't leave the roof either because there's a roof. And if you go to locomotion, you'll see that there is a fly locomotion, but when I switch to it, it doesn't work. And that's because I don't have the appropriate permissions to use fly locomotion. In the center of the world, there is a, this room, there is a little message which says, "This world is for role-playing only, please be in character and do not be mean. Push accept to gain locomotion and fly permissions," and there's an accept button. When I push this accept button, I can now change it to fly locomotion and exit the room. This is just my tutorial world, it's not actually the RP world, but do contact Jax if you're interested in role-playing in that group. So I'm going to talk through how I set this up and then talk about some advice I would give you if you're making a world that's like this, that requires this kind of room setup where you're protecting users from themselves, essentially. You're basically saying, like, here are the expectations of this world, accept the expectations of this world before you can gain access to this world. So I've got, oh, actually I don't because I respawned, great. I've got a dev tooltip and a LogiX tooltip here. And what I'm going to do is pop open the locomotion settings for the world. So if we go to, not the locomotion settings, yes, actually, no, I want the permission settings. Sorry, I'm jumping around a lot there. Inside roles, inside the permission settings, do see my other videos on permissions. We're just going to skim over some stuff today and focus on some areas in particular. We're going to go to the builder permissions and we're going to go to locomotion permissions. You'll see here locomotion permissions is set to the whitelist option, and that physical locomotion is set as one of the whitelist options, and the require tag box is empty, and the edit mode checkbox is off. But in the fly locomotion option, the require tag is set to accepted. And that means that if I have accepted these terms and conditions of the world, the accept button will tag my fly locomotion with the accepted tag, which will then allow me to fly. But until then, I can't fly. And as I've respawned, I'm not able to fly again. You might be able to do an advanced setup here whereby it remembers if you've accepted it previously in that session and doesn't require you to accept it again, but in this case you're required to accept it all the time because it's just a demo setup. So I'm now going to show you inside the Locomotion Modules folder. I'm not sure if that was close enough for you to read, so I'm just going to point to that again. Fly locomotion accepted, physical locomotion, no tag, and edit mode only is turned off there. So we get inside Locomotion Modules here, you'll see that there is walk, and that it doesn't have a tag, and there is fly, and it doesn't have a tag. And if we go down to my user and my locomotion modules, you'll see that inside walk run, there is no tag, and inside fly, there is no tag, and that's why it doesn't work. If I manually, by opening up a cursor here and setting this to accepted, set this to accepted, now I'll be able to fly. This also means that this won't work very well for builder ranks, but that's fine. It'll work for guests or people that aren't able to inspect, etc. So now I can fly again if I land, and I remove the accepted tag. Now I can't fly again. That's all there is to it in terms of components. The actual remaining part of it is that accept button, so I'm going to show you how that works now. So the accept button here is very simple. I will link my video on finding out who pushed a button as well, which goes over this in more detail. But it just has a nice piece of LogiX on it, which I'm going to unpack, which gets the button events, and then it does a for loop, and it finds my local user, which as we know from the button, get the user who pushes this button tutorial. The local user slot will be the person who pushed the button. It finds their locomotion modules, and then it runs a for loop. We haven't covered for loops before in a video tutorial, so I'll briefly go over it. Children count here basically counts how many locomotion modules I've got. So you can see here that I've got 2 locomotion modules. If I open up my locomotion switcher, you'll see there's 2 here. And so it's going to do a for loop with 2 options in it. And so this is going to fire twice. So if I do this and I hit accept, you'll see that we get 2 impulses out here. And for that, we're going to take the iteration number, which is the number of the for loop, which will be 0 and then 1, and and we're going to get the child of the locomotion modules that's there, and we're going to set its tag to accepted. So I'm going to show you that in the inspector again, so you can see how that works kind of visually with the inspector. So on locomotion modules here, we get that locomotion slot from the user root slot here, local user slot. We find locomotion modules, and then we do the first one and the second one in a for loop, and we set the tag up there to accepted. So now we've got that plugged in. I can hit this button again. You'll see it fires, and then we can go up to the top here, and you'll see that both of them, let me get rid of this box here. You'll see that both of them now have the accepted tag on them. So fly is accepted and walk is also accepted. You deselect walk again as it makes a box around me. That's all there is to it. You can configure this for various roles, such as like, the builder role doesn't require this setup. Just set this to blacklist here and then clear this, and then builders will be able to do anything. Go to non-builder permissions, and do that same setup inside the non-builder permissions locomotion permissions. So you'll see here I've already got it kind of set up. So this means that non-builders, so guests or spectators, will be required to push this button before they leave the room, or you could even do it on spectator. You can basically customize which role needs to do it. Word of advice here, like I said, it will not work on people that have a builder rank, so maybe leave people defaulting to guest, stuck inside this room till they accept it. When they fly over to you, as they've accepted the permissions of the world and asked the builder permissions, you can then have more of an idea that they might be behaving well within the world. Additionally, please make the tag that you use not literally accepted, because it would take me about 5 seconds to make a piece of logic that does this to my character. Luckily, you won't be able to edit this using LogiX to turn the actual permission system. So set it to like a string that only you know. Something like gobbledygook. If you're stuck for a word to use, you can go ahead and go to the node browser, go to utility, go to random GUID, and then toString that. And there you go. There's your where are we? toString. There you go. There's your random tag that was required for them to accept the permissions, and then it's secure, and no one can guess that. It's completely random. I hope that helps. Jax, this is also the way I recommend you set up your little box inside the room. Make them hit that button before they can go. You can also tie that button into a teleport so they can accept it, and then they'll be teleported to the main spawn area of the map. And it basically means that they will instantaneously get access to permissions, and so I need to place more because I'm black in a black room. They can get access to the permissions to move, and they can also be teleported to the starting zone of your map. Super interested to see what's happening with this role-playing map. Do let me know how I can help further. Hope this helps. I'll see you soon. This will be added to the permissions list, as well as check out the description for more permission-related tutorials. Bye-bye.